Hi, my name is Kirk Hamilton, your host of the Saying Healthy Today show. This is a show where we review current research in nutrition, prevention, integrative, and lifestyle medicine for the individual, society, and the world. And sometimes, or most of the times, I try and get an interview with a key researcher or a physician or a health professional on a particular topic. And or sometimes I will just review and give a highlight of the what's in the Substack information below because there's quite a bit today. So I have two interviews coming up in the next week or so. One that I'd like to announce is Dr. Sabine Hazan, and she's a gastroenterologist, world renowned, and she's famous for many things, but she's a master at the microbiome and how the microbiome might play a role or does play a role in COVID-19, the role of bifidobacter in enhancing immunity and being beneficial in COVID-19, the role of vitamin C enhancing bifidobacter. So she, and also fecal transplants like in autism. So we're going to review some articles of her and have her interviewed, and I'm going to do that next week. And then coming up tomorrow, I'm going to interview a researcher from the Independent Health Alliance, Matthew Halma. And Matthew Halma is a PhD candidate. He's a researcher, and we're going to talk on um, anxiety. I have a little anxiety because there's so much information, but anxiety in the world today, and not just pharmacologic treatments, but lifestyle medicine approaches and nutraceuticals and other uh, non-pharmaceutical approaches to anxiety. Because I think in the information age, we're all, we get a lot, and the world is it's always in change, but the information comes so fast, and we are at a stage where, you know, the world could, end quickly because of nuclear weapons, and I think about that a lot. I've been thinking about that for the last 40 years, but um, just conflicts could get out of control quickly. So there's that hanging over. And so I think that there's sometimes a general anxiety in the world, and I think some lifestyle medicine approaches and some non-pharmacologic approaches would be very, very warranted. And so he's going to be interviewed early next week. So I just want to give some highlights of the with the Substack below. There's more than enough information to keep you busy for a couple of weeks. But the one of the researchers at the McCullough Foundation, Nicholas Holscher, he's the epidemiologist and the foundation administrator. He did one of the best reviews, and you'll see the link here on testosterone because hormones are big and they're an easy sell, and you see all the things out there and about testosterone enhancing this or that. But there was a systemic review, and he reviewed that and he summarizes it in little graphs, and it makes it so easy, and he breaks it down, and things like I didn't know, and I give out testosterone, or I have people self-administer testosterone. I'm conservative on it, but I've seen it help tremendous amount of people. I don't use it as a cure, I use it as an adjunct to lifestyle. But some of the things he'll go over were think of these 28 um, proposed things that can help testosterone. He reviews them and he puts them into categories of that have definitely been proven to be beneficial and reproducible, and possibly, and then things that don't tend to work at all. So things like beta hydroxy, beta methylbutyrate, good studies on that. I mean, I didn't even know that. That comes from leucine, amino acid leucine, betaine, trimethylglycine. I've seen that in homocysteine lowering nutrients, but I didn't know that it's one of the things that can enhance testosterone in men that has really good data on it. Then ones that possibly can do it are things like tongarali, which I've heard about, ashwagandha, which I've heard about, shilajit, I've heard about, um, and then pomegranate and cacao mix, and then a natural aromatase inhibitor. So that article will be great for you to read. Very efficient, and there's a link to that there. Uh, and then he gives lifestyle medicine things to do for testosterone, which is what I work on in patients. You got to get out and exercise. You got to eat a clean diet. You got to lift some or do some strength training. And the other thing is sleep, and that's my that's my weakest point there. So that's going to be in the newsletter. Then, we had a review of Pfizer made a big deal with the Trump administration, $70 billion deal, and you just kind of sigh because you don't see the movement on the vaccines let's say, getting taken off the market. Um, but you have lower drug prices. So what I say to myself when I see that is I don't know what's going to wash out from that. I don't know if there's going to be less vaccines. It doesn't sound like it. And okay, there's lower drug prices. Uh, but the goal of this is to not use drugs. So while it may get frustrating, the politics of big pharma and its integration into our government, literally, um, work to have a life that you don't use pharmaceuticals. Just think if we wiped out cardiovascular disease, which is basically a lifestyle disease. We don't have to worry about the cholesterol and statin debate. We don't have to worry about, you know, Ozempa if we're all, relatively eating good diets and leaner. So to me, when I looked at that, I just said, that's what I tell patients every day. If you don't want to take medicine, change your lifestyle and then use some alternatives and see what you can do. And then there was three big studies have come out now from Japan, Italy, and South Korea on the COVID vaccines increasing cancers. So that's big news. Most people know it that study this issue, but it's still in the traditional realms. It's still questionable. But these are traditional groups that come out with the studies. Uh, the other interesting one was um, levothyroxine. Been giving levothyroxine for years. Most medical professionals do. That's T4. Uh, but I don't. I mean, I use a combination of T4 and T3, but risk to cancer. So that there's a link to that article. And then we know that the COVID vaccine, let's forget about the harmful effects of it initially, but we know that the COVID vaccine didn't prevent COVID. It didn't prevent transmission, didn't prevent you getting it. So it was a failure. The argument that regular medicine hangs on is that it helped reduce death and hospitalizations. And there's never been a double-blind study showing it's reduced hospitalization. Never. But that argument still that's still incorporated that it reduced death and so that's the one side. So there's an excellent review led by a Dr. Ophir Yaakov from Israel, and also included in that was Dr. P. McCullough, is probably one of the most outspoken people on trying to get the vaccines off the market and their harm and the spike protein, and et cetera. And there's a review in there where they go through, and it's entitled A Step-by-Step Evaluation of Claim That COVID-19 Vaccines Save Millions of Lives. So if you want to save that article, that's not a bad article to have. And then fascinating, but aging, grip strength is a good marker of aging. And so I'm always, so they talk about strength training, the hands and that kind of thing. And one of the things came up was pull-ups. Well, I've done pull-ups all my life. It's been my dad built a pull-up rack when I was like 10 or 12, and been doing them all my life. So I agree that grip strength is very important. So whatever you're doing, you want to keep up your grip strength. And then the other one that I've been trying to do is aging, getting off the floor. There's I'll promo it, Zarina Del Mar 3D body movement. She does these little YouTubes and 7 to 10 minutes a day of body movement, and helps with the flexibility of the hips and movement and strength in your lower extremities and balance. And I can tell you, I got rid of a hip pain. I was doing some Tai Chi, and I had this hip pain every morning when I'm standing there posting. And I did one of her, I don't want to call them exercises, and I don't want to call them stretching, but movements, and it was gone. So I highly recommend, the whole concept of getting off the floor um, is a sign of anti-aging, and practice that. Asian cultures do that much more, and it's part of their lifestyle. In fact, when I remember seeing a picture of I think there were nonagenarians from Okinawa, and it was called a Moai, where the female meet every week for a lifetime, and you see all these golden white-haired individuals sitting cross-legged on the floor, and they're 90 plus. So they got to get up off the floor. I mean, we can't do it out in Western culture. So flexibility, getting up off the floor is a sign of youth. Uh, then there's another article on music and classical music and rewiring your brain. Another article on the flu vaccine. It didn't really work this year. Uh, and then neuropsychiatric diseases such as cognition and the importance of exercise. I can't emphasize this enough. When someone cousin sees me for cognitive decline or Alzheimer's disease, I mean, there's so many things you can do, but the basic things are you got to vigorously exercise, do some strength training. You have to control your blood sugar, keep your insulin A1C levels five-ish or below. Some people believe a ketogenic diet, but you have to cut out processed sugars. You have to get sleep, my weak area, um, and then not have overwhelming stress and have good stress. And then you can add on top of that the hormones, the vitamins, the minerals, the environmental toxins such as mold and heavy metals that can affect Alzheimer's. But exercise is simple. It's so simple, and it helps increase BDNF, brain drive neurotrophic factor, and that helps build new neurons. Just that, and we are as old as our vascular elasticity. So nothing new. It's just that there was an article there on that. Um, a review of the spike protein, which is what the vaccine tells our body to make, and how lethal it is, and how destructive it is. And the one that's made by the vaccine is delivered in the lipid nanoparticle. Well, the messenger RNA is delivered in the lipid nanoparticles, so the instructions get to different and deeper places or more places in the body to create the spike protein, which is what we build antibodies for, and that's the whole reason we had a vaccine. But that spike protein is a destructive compound, and more data comes out on that. Uh, then there's a few case study. There was an interesting one on weight loss. Everybody's trying to find the quick gimmick. Well, there was a good apple cider vinegar study, a tablespoon a day, um, done over I think 3 or so months, and it resulted in a 13 to 17 pound weight loss. So that's something that simple to do. And then when I talk about cancers, I review a lot of Dr. William Mackis's case studies, and one thing you can say is that if you're going to use repurposed drugs, the three biggest ones, and then there's obviously others, because I've done this myself and I'm still doing it, is 1 milligram per kilogram, maybe to 1.5 milligram per kilogram dose of ivermectin, and then mebendazole or fenbendazole between 1 and 2,000 milligrams a day. That's a core. And maybe there's CBD, melatonin, um, olive leaf extract. I mean, there's a whole slew of other nutrients, but um, over and over again, you see that combination of either ivermectin plus fenbendazole or mebendazole. And again, the doses of those two are between 1,000 and 2,000 milligrams on people who improve, and the range of the ivermectin is 1 milligram per kilogram to max 1.5 milligram per kilogram. And there is, I think it's important to start my own personal experience and with patients and also myself. Um, it's important to start with lower doses uh, and build up, because you can have visual disturbances, sometimes balance issues with ivermectin when you get up to 1 milligram plus doses. And so it can be tapered up and you can watch for them. They're reversible. Uh, I've had them myself. But I think I start now when I write a prescription for ivermectin for cancer, I'll start at maybe a half or a quarter of milligram per kilogram, and that whatever pill that is, and build up. So that's something to be aware of. And fenbendazole is the one that increases liver enzyme more than mebendazole. I've had the personal experience and I've seen it in patients. So sometimes fenbendazole will elevate liver enzyme. So if you're on it, you should be getting, you know, every couple of weeks to a month, depending on how sick you are, your liver enzymes assessed. Uh, then, I go through the, well, I'll just end with this. I mean, there's a lot more in this substack, but things like we get into when we get into geopolitics, we get into freedom. And I think, again, what COVID brought was that our freedom is being quelched. And it made it obvious during COVID there'd be information, then it would be taken away. But I think there's a worldwide effort to manipulate us and to take away freedom. I really, really do. From mass migration, that's why I put it in the bottom part of the newsletter, information on that. I believe that mass immigration um, that is intentional uh, is really trying to destroy individual countries. And when we destroy individual countries, the goal is a world government. And I never used to believe that, but it's so clear. Um, it's so clear. And so that's why I put links into that, because without freedom, we can't even talk about what we're doing right now. We can't have, you know, this information exchange in communist totalitarian countries. We can't do it. Be taken away, be thrown in jail. So that's the ultimate, is protecting our freedom of speech. I'm very thankful for X, for really, I don't know what our country would be if X hadn't been taken over, because all the other social media sites were censoring, and they still do to a certain extent. So that's why I have those links in there. There's some things about farming, how they're trying, farming's of the small farmers being extinct, how dangerous that is. Um, and then also, I did an interview on live organ harvesting before. There's a little bit of links on that. It's just incredible to believe that country can take people for their spiritual beliefs who are nonviolent, healthy, peaceful, and encourage their growth. This is the Falun Gong, up to 100 million people, and then decide they're a threat, and then not only throw them in jail, but then use them for live organ harvesting, and then develop a huge business, an international business. And we in the United States probably train some of their physicians. So live organ harvesting is real. China's doing it, and there are other countries, and it needs to stop. So I'll end on that one, but there's a lot more information. I just try to give you a highlight of the newsletter and the Substack, and then there'll be information next week, uh, 2 new interviews in the next week. Okay? My name is Kirk Hamilton. This is the Staying Healthy Today show. Until next time, stay and be well.